In front of you TV. Audience listeners, hello everyone. I am a teacher, Fu Heling. Thanks again. Universal surprised everyone watching this program. Today I talk about topics. Trump is the most recent. For the U.S. space program. With very clear guidance. He said the U.S. Space Command to reopen. To reopen. I'm talking about above on stage. There it is, the most important thing first. He put the Chinese Long March 5B track. Monitored throughout. At the same time for all of us to disclose. This was last August 29th. U.S. President at the White House Trump announced plans to restart. Why speak to restart it? Because it already had previously, but the ability is not enough. Suggested that the U.S. Space Command announced. This is a 4-star general. John William J. Raymond, first term. You see 4 stars. In particular, I put him in uniform clothes to win. Then the movie a little bit longer. The general, this is not actually lower body. Like us, then standing at attention. He was not standing at attention, because this movie looked down. It has a slot. The full name USPACECOM. U.S. Space Command. Then the inside. The Trump, especially when speaking of speech. The threat continues to expand. We must also capitalize on the trend. Want to challenge Americans in space. Now the gameplay completely changed. Then the following is said. Unified Battle Command, unified responsibility of the U.S. Department of Defense. I was there to write a red outer space. Main point is that 100 kilometers above sea level. All airspace operations. In fact, it is 1945. U.S. Military Space Operations Command. This prototype has been. But by September 1985. The name of the official start. To September 11, 2001. Given name Space Command. Deactivated in 2002. Then merged into the United States to make war headquarters. This involves the inside. There are 2, I did not write it. The first was in 1986. Late January 1986. U.S. Space Shuttle Challenger explosion sky. 7 astronauts died. Which contained a lot of so-called military space monitoring things on top. I'm sorry, that not a solution. Blown up, falling right. In either Reagan. That followed 2002 to 2003. Columbia explosion again. Has died 7 astronauts. So the whole Space Command will shrink. Until August 29, 2019. Was re-established. And compiled by Major General will become. Emphasize again, space will be their area of operations. Then the Air Force spokesman also told. He said that we regularly, including mainland China with Russia. All threats in space are coordinated, understand. Hold regular coordination, understand. At the same time, every day in contact. This is February 29th this year. The Raymond, this 4-star general. In the U.S. House of Representatives, Armed Commission briefing. Note that the upper right corner above me. Red with just below that piece of red. I translated into Chinese is not released. Unless the Strategic Forces Subcommittee. U.S. House of Representatives Committee on Armed Consent. So today we get this information. It should be reasonable to say. They have done presentations. And agreed to a text published in the inside outset. There you all, closer look. It's time briefing with people. Raymond is on. Admiral Raymond. Then at the outset. English, I would take off in space, he said. This terrible threat is particularly serious. I get the last word on terms. Today's complex global security environment. Challenges posed by. Greater than the challenges we faced in the past. This is mainly echoes. Trump just say that sentence. As our National Defense Strategy parentheses NDS. Year of a lot emphasized. We are facing. My scarlet letter. The reemergence of long-term strategic competitor. He again noted that the reemergence. So I think the inside. Most speak Russian. Most speak Russian, which is characterized by free and open challenge to international order. In space, this terrible threat is particularly serious. Because of this demand, so they want to strengthen. The 4-star general took over as commander of the Space Command. Then we have to talk about that there is something in this which he did so worth it. First, we see X-37B. In 2007, X-37B experiments in orbit. The space inside to do the test of time. Vandenberg, California. Vandenberg Air Force Base. First flight in April 2009. The full name is the Winged. There are no wings to see. Red edge of the front wings. They're X-37B wings, also known as orbital test vehicle. Orbital test vehicle. It is 2 oblique wings. We look at the first film. This is Boeing doing X-37B space plane. Then when it launched, reliably bring it. It will not fall out. The second, it responsible. Landing when it is very clear. Instantly landed. Very reliable and very. This to land on landing. Noticed above words USAF. The wings are inclined. Notice 2 holes in front of a black piece of. It can do attitude control while it is in flight conditions below. Unmanned operation can be done a variety of high operating. Notes that there is no, but the inside power. There is not a line of high energy radiation. As far as I know, it's the pods. It was pleased with what you bring anything. Multi-technology, multitasking. And the risk is very small. And its performance is very reliable and substantially. It also noted the very short runway. This is in the air. This signal is caught. That is the mystery. Since the launch has been not see the inside of a mission, once or twice, 3 times, 4 times. Basically what I'm sorry. You do not know when it took off. You do not know when it falls. You do not know the sky to do anything. Note that the solar panels, direct use of solar energy to start. But I doubt very much. That may sometimes not enough. Not enough time how to do. Not enough time is necessary to note other power. It is not talking about the inside, but you can see it. Just inside the movie. Inside out. Wearing a spacesuit, body radiation. I suspect you see this movie. Spacesuit to wear radiation protection of people working on it. Since no one. Why do so many wear the kind of clothes do? Obviously there may be associated with radiation. Until X-37B 2015. It has done 4 times in flight. For the first time in April 2010 launch. 224 days spent in the air. Second OTV-2. Launched in March 2011. 468 days spent in the air. Note that more than doubled. 3rd December 2012. 674 days spent in the air. Note the triple. 224 tripled. 4th OTV-4. 20155. In the sky to be at least 717 days. It was noted that such a long time. It is only by this solar power. You can be able to support the whole energy. I was a very skeptical. So the inside. There may be other energy above. But you and I do not know. This is the Soviet Union. Space shuttle was made snowstorm. Very similar with the United States. That means to say, at the time the Soviet Union also have the capability to launch. However, the relationship may be financed in all aspects. It is also very challenging risk of large. Later, it also stopped. Because the United States has lost twice. This was before it took off. It noted that 2 sets of wings. In front of a main wing. 2 rear wing obliquely set opening. The purpose of the open ramp I have a lot of say. First, it controls. The second, if possible, ground radar to prevent it shine. There are also a number of stealth effective. Well, you say this X-37B. It is in the air when. It has several different shapes. You see 1234. It did finally show it with a. That is the bottom right. It's time to fight. The ability of the enemy satellite. Military action with the enemy spacecraft. It can include control, it can capture. Can destroy enemy spaceships. At the same time it, monitoring military to detect enemy. This is one of its long stay in orbit mission. In particular, I brought down this. I just say that he wore the spacesuit radiation, reusable automation. I emphasize that no one spacecraft. So X-37B, its subsequent models, there might be called track bombers, or called orbit unmanned bomber, or strategic reconnaissance plane called space. Then it weighed about 5 tons. So it's a lot smaller tonnage of the space shuttle with only 5 ton, a total length of 8.8 meters, 2.8 meters high to be slightly higher than people. 2 wings unfold 1 to 4.5 m long, while using inclined layout. Tilt-style layout I just talked about may be invisible for radar, are closely related. This means that good. It just saw a pod. It can carry some of it X-37B, lightweight load into orbit, and then perform a variety of tasks, and then return to Earth. At the same time, it can quickly, after liftoff, reach any target over the world. You can say that the camera can be said to detect, indeed, accurate notice of the enemy, or detection precision strike strategy. If you have a ground-to-air missile S-300 Patriot, this results that are not on it, because it is in a high orbit, 300 to 400 kilometers of track. You do not hit a big height. At the same time, it not only it is equipped with high-speed flight power system, at the same time it carries solar panels to maintain power in orbit. More than 700 days of electricity is not bare solar panels can do. This we do not know, so the U.S. Space Network, this particular URL say, it said X-37B clearly more suitable for the implementation of those, at any time require the orbit of outer space project. Now, say the fight transfer to the outside of the 500 kilometers altitude places, some go to ground reconnaissance activities. It immediately went orbit. It have enough fuel to bring. Its size is very similar with Temple. Temple with very similar. Top left is the space shuttle. The proportion saying, at least a quarter of the length of the smaller. Then the main engine behind the scarlet letter. Then payload. Intermediate piece payload bay. Intermediate means that can be supported. See what you want to install, big, small, whatever you installed. Then empty electronic front. Top right is the solar panels. It opens solar panels. It provides power system. This American NASA in 1999. Research is responsible for this aircraft. It is the narrow space shuttle, reduced to a quarter. Then do various tests. And then to the U.S. military in 2006. I wrote it very clear height. Inclination of 42.79 degrees and more than 300 kilometers, while noting it can enter into poles observation. This means that if you follow the North Pole, South Pole, what if military action? It can immediately orbit into the North Pole with the South Pole. At the same time, it can be reused. The inside is very interesting. I attached the 2 URLs. The United States until July 2019. No one knows where it is. But in July 2019, in the first 667 days it has been photographed, so I am particularly speaking out. Indicates that this is already a people have been tracking for a long time. US X-37B the space. The air of this small spacecraft. March 30th, 2010. At 300 kilometers altitude flying. Until July 2019 number 2 was photographed. In 667 days, notes that the right is to take the situation. Left the right side of this one. The above is an entity. Here is the opportunity to take a nose. The effective payload is the middle of the payload, has to take so red, that the right. On the top right of that one, it is the head of a special. With a tail with a middle. The head of the tail with the middle. All 3 was photographed, so it is no longer confidential. So the United States X-37B secret mission. Basically you just get caught orbit. You can take it where? And people have been shot to you. In fact, you look at that URL. He beat this thing. He has tracked nearly less than a month for almost a month. He was determined to shoot, so he can master track. He used the camera is a LCCD5L11. monochrome CMOS camera. He told June 30th, July 20th. Flew overhead. I flew on to save that red head. At that time it might be monitored. Temple 1 space station in mainland China, and some nearby track. So this Rolf Juan de Beige. At June 30th, with the July 2nd, when flying overhead. Fast capture with a camera to X-37B. Well, this fifth mission at OTV-5. Mainly to test space. With electronic radiator. Basically for environmental change. Good influence with instruments and equipment. That the inside. 2 maps. On the left you can see this picture. It is in front of the crowded. Many in this part of the nose. Packed with behind. Uncrowded with wings. This place is mainly. It's time to return to the atmosphere. This place is very high heat. Unlike the shuttle to get a lot of heat-resistant bricks. The results out piece by piece. It is this device because it is relatively small. Also it uses a special device. But also in testing. It with a configuration. Plunge of the radiator. And measuring the flying body. Fly 500 days, 600 days, 700 days. The heat treatment temperature of its surface. And return when the process temperature is not, it will affect it. Inside the aircraft, equipment, and chronic fatigue deformation of the outer structure. They are doing this test. Of course it does not tell us the results. This is ground down to at this time. I once again put on the left. The bottom left of this photo, this represents the inside. Is there a lot of fuel in nuclear power? That we do not know. Or that similar N2H4 hydrazine. Because we know the hydrazine, in the space inside, take satellites like to do. Attitude control purposes. Is something similar to this extreme, so they are afraid sucked. The wear shield. Before doing the test line or after landing. The inside told about. Its volume is, generally, we are a quarter of the space shuttle. Do you see it? It right power from the solar part. So there is a part of it. That is, other things. X-37B launch for. Mission from 8 months. Extended to 15 months to 22 months. Until 24 months is still extended. It weighs it. About 5 tons of the way. Then thrust power. And effective load. It can be 2.1 meters with 1.2 meters of this. This rectangle of the width of the space inside the put anything it wants. It is the speed of flight. Every hour 28,044 kilometers. It then 300 kilometers of basic trek. So is the right to tell you. You see it in the test of time, or with a mark of NASA, in fact, has since been transformed into the Boeing Company, and the actual work for the U.S. Department of Defense. This time has gone 270 days okay. Then this is the 5th task. The 5th task. At the same time it is the process in which the task, never been photographed. But the low orbit of the space. Small space systems. This was to take. After it photographed. It may later be very careful. This photo represents good. On behalf of the left that has a different color. Watch carefully, different colors on the left inside it. You can see the black. It represents what black. Black is represented by, now on a mission. Instance Dragon. You see no DRAGON, Dragon-shaped spacecraft, SpaceX mission. Lean to the top left of the Soyuz no. Russia on a mission. On the right below. This is the mainland Chinese temple. The space station temple. The second intermediate is then gray. Is retired. Shuttle retired, say. Gemini has retired. And Apollo has retired. Note that this proportion with the size of the have a close relationship with color. The shuttle is so big. Then the others so small. And then the blue. Left on its behalf are developing. Some of all space systems. There is no out. This instance is slightly bigger than the Dragon spacecraft. Spacecraft left, as well as Boeing. To compete with the Dragon spacecraft. Space is also being developed to compete in. That is already off the end of the red. Has ended is not lost. Then the bottom of the is currently in the space above. Between 300 and 400 kilometers, one of the world's largest space vehicle. Called the Space Station Freedom. Space Station Freedom. The relationship between each other its size, that the right of this photo. Shuttle X-37B is a comparison with the nearly 4-to-1 way, then that person over there. That person probably has not at high height. Just say is 2.4 m, then the rocket is to bring it to rocket. The top X-37B, X-37B okay. Then there. Location design. Between the carrier itself. The relationship between the front and rear space, then the inside it. Basically sit. Several people sit. We can see this photo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 people can sit 7 people, then it is back. Compare the size of that this spacecraft does, say when this photo is to tell you, X-37B of the United States Air Force. This small space shuttle, when it is in contact with the spacecraft Freedom. The first space station Freedom. This will be a great. Kareem hooked it. Then slowly closer. After it closer, the X-37B erected in a position on a space station. It then began to put some goods from its X-37B transported to the top. Or that's some cargo space station. X-37B transported to the top. Yoon finished it away. Gone. It is on the use of a solar cell power generation okay. Then the right to say. How many people can take it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there can be 7 people. That these 2 pictures. This is the DARPA. DARPA closely with the Department of Defense. Space Command was established. If the space inside, he spoke. I see you this day in space. This small satellites have this opinion. I will send a robotic arm to grab you. Get engaged in a practice and then put it back to you. Do you see it? So this is in space inside. Use of space arms. The others arrested in the past satellite. US DARPA. It made a demonstration of machinery. In fact, this is a movie, but because saving time, I would not put this film. That the following. It means that DARPA to develop a. There is an arm of the robot satellites, which can fly in space. So there is this. U.S. Space Command. In addition to the X-37B, the second important weapon is what? I put some appropriate satellite. Installed a mechanical arm. In the space inside. Right opportunity at the right time. Place. I put your satellite captured other countries. Get engaged in a practice to give you put it back. It will not even give you captured. You off track. How to track you off the ground. Receive signal. Because of space inside. You just lost the least bit of difference Trinidad. So close. It is that regardless of your L-band X-band. It is past the speed of light very, very fine. You will not catch grass disappeared. Missing disappeared. That I'm sorry that this satellite will destroy. It can then. If you catch it you can see. It contained what you. Inside you know you're doing something. This is the inside I put this picture. February 6, 2017, Japan this. There is an experiment and we may inadvertently. It recovered space junk in space inside. It took a very long pole. A long pole. With this Earth is a big field. A magnetic field wires. It took a lot of wires. Wire inside the field. It generates power through Lenz's law. This force can put the trash. Grab space junk down, without success. Therefore, Japan, then the second. It is not a mechanical arm. Using a similar robot. Want to take this way grab space junk. Not successful. This is to say this is the capsule. The space station is. Took the mechanical arm. Air crawl this action. DARPA is the US. The future will use satellite. Catch someone else's satellite on a similar like this. Just told AX-37B. One is air crawled satellite. Then again I want to say is. Satellite monitoring system. That is, the United States use of this system to see. We march in mainland China number 5. The position does not fall off. Released immediately, so-called satellite monitoring telescope. This location in New Mexico. We know Socorro. I've talked about. UFO crash place. White Sands Missile Base. The United States built a place. Satellite Monitoring System Foundation. Looks like this. This was in 2011. Foundation monitoring system in 2011. It then the entire diameter. Closest to the right by my side. It has a diameter of 3.5 meters, is quite large. So much a optical. Because the optical, we can really see what practices. Well, this is it now, DARPA. Later, it put this thing successful on to the United States Department of Defense. This means that the U.S. Department of Defense Pentagon stated that they can be detected, potentially hazardous asteroid, or when we receive some sort of systematic attack. You can see it in advance. This photo on the left tell you. It is the ratio of this thing with people is how much. This photo on the right to tell you. And the real White Sands. White Sands Missile Base. That space monitoring platform. The real size. I once came alive again. I write very clearly above. Track small debris. There are probably 22,000 small pieces around in the sky. It can at least see 22,000 small pieces. If this small pieces, it has a diameter of 1 centimeter, so much time. It's the whole system. Regardless of the weather missile, there will be a lot of damage, so be sure to see it. Something over 1 centimeter. This is a good point of view on the ground. But the ground point of view, affected by the weather. Many of the ground by the impact, very convenient. So the United States in recent years too developed a called SBSS, called the space-based formula. In the space inside, built surveillance reconnaissance system, so-called space-based reconnaissance system. Its plan is based on ground-based, by supporting the ground, to track space objects in orbit, while achieving space control for the future. Node control, it is to master the sovereign control. That photograph was. It actually looks like a satellite. Note that it has a satellite. Its satellites above. It has a gimbal system, 66-degree gimbal system. The above action cannot move below, but above can be adjusted. So there it is said. This is probably more than 10 centimeters in diameter. It can be seen 10,007,1000. In diameter more than 10 centimeters. 10 centimeters. It can be seen. As for that, 1 centimeter in diameter and 10 centimeters object. In the space inside it, I'm sorry I have 2 million. 1 centimeter to 10 centimeters. But these things just told. 1 centimeter will have a big impact. So it must be seen. Look, rely on it to rely on this watch satellite. At the same time it added a sentence behind. This behind me a movie, since 2007. Chinese satellites in the sky to self-destruct. Mainland China launched a rocket. This satellite Fengyun weather satellite destroyed, resulting in a fragment. The debris, United States to use the monitoring system to monitor it, at the same time on top for everyone to see, actually found, will be closer than the free space shuttle. At the same time in 2009, Russian Cosmos 2251 satellite No, with Iridium-33 satellite. East-west collision with 2 satellites. The result is fragmented. So how to master the controlled debris is also one of the goals of the air monitoring system. This is the satellite. In the ground do the test. Well, this is now 2010. Has launched the first generation to go up. Now 2021 is the next year. If it later eased slightly epidemic, should be concerned. Should be able to launch on time. It will launch in 2021. It is above the equator in the main. This is a geostationary satellite, 36,000 kilometers, 6 times the radius of the Earth. This place, it has a satellite monitoring in the above. So after 2020-2021, there are also 3 ready to join the ranks. Why? 3 plus 3 6. Its area see more clearly, meanwhile caught more particles. Okay, since you can hit it indirectly. That is to say an anti-satellite system. So anti-satellite weapons continue to expand on a global scale. U.S. Air Force in 5 years. Investment of $5.5 billion US. I'm just talking about a lot of things. Are part of an anti-satellite system inside. Well, we look at the Disanbu. This monitoring system, Xichang launch in mainland China. See this. the meteorological satellite FY the debris will fall. After some time, with the rotation of the Earth slowly, scattered and slowly, spread throughout the Earth's orbit appropriate. At this is our Freedom Space Station. Space station flying above, just fall. Very close to where? But not on the top of the ISS space station. That is, the Free World Space Station. This is blue. ISS, this Freedom spacecraft's trajectory. It is red. It is scattered trajectory. Sometimes above in the ISS. Sometimes below the ISS is now on top. Then the other blue is currently several thousand satellites now in service. Constantly walking on the satellite. The red of it is that scattered debris. It is indicated, says U.S. ground with air monitoring system. At any time monitor 1 centimeter. For now should be between 1 centimeter and 10 centimeters. Or any of the above objects. It can be seen. And are able to draw this map. Tell everyone you this spaceship. I will not run into this with debris. And if it can see the debris, you have satellites. It is not seen more of it. You satellites. Absolute right not only greater than 1 centimeter, 1050. It guarantees seeing right. So this is its powerful place. Well finished. We speaking another. Space operations inside the most important X-51. X-51 is the hypersonic speed of Mach 5. Mach 5 of this space aircraft. So this is called a global strike plan in the ring. U.S. Department of Defense to accelerate the development X-51A, hyper-overdriver. Because more than 5 times is already a hypersonic speed. Sometimes it can go to 7 times the speed of sound. That is mainly what it noticed the following line. It may be inside 1 hour. Attack any one position worldwide. 1 hour. An hour to be put in place. Well, we now see this X-51 experiment with video X-51B. B-52 bombers take it to the proper height. Start off. B-52 the following notice. The left side of the white object is X-51B. Hypersonic speed unmanned aerial bombing system. I cannot say bomber bombing system. It is already screaming jet engines. Superb. This is the ignition at hypersonic speed, supersonic ignition. This technology worldwide over the world. USA, China, Russia. May ignition at supersonic speeds. That is, that you are a fan, was very large under the circumstances you have to ignition. This is a skill. They have the world patent application. So you can see that the plane took off. At the appropriate height altitude he left it to. Yet still continue to fly height. Then you put the X-51B falling from the sky. You can wait to see it. Off of that action. Basically, it projected the way. Is a very special control mode. Under the fastest speed, it can perform its tasks. But unfortunately, as far as I know, this automatic control equipment, there are a number of flaws. 200. Probably continue to be 200 seconds after its temperature too hot bad. See the back of a photo accompanying a. You can also save that photography. You can also say, in fact traces its aircraft. Then see X-51A. This is the time to do the test. This is a cartoon. You can see it. Change the height of the speed of change. Start at this front down. After down, start a certain extent it began firing. First, accelerate. You see immediately rush to the proper height. Immediately rush to the proper height. Adjust its orbit and then into the hypersonic speed. Into hypersonic speed. But its speed is fast enough. You see it in the attitude to do all kinds of adjustments. Behind the propeller adjustment. Wait it off. Then start at screaming jet. Is screaming jet at supersonic speeds to fire. After successful ignition, it uses supersonic. Accelerated to hypersonic speed of hypersonic. 5 times the speed of sound. At the same time the speed of sound possible to 7. And then use this rate. It is within an hour. Anything you can attack every corner of the world. This is the main purpose of its development of a. At the same time that it is in the design of this time. This problem inside the material, it currently has no material problems to overcome. It is an automatic device that, 200 seconds when possible. It burned on broken. So basically speaking, U.S. technology in this area. It is considered the first, but still awaiting a breakthrough. You note it down slowly down. Very smooth down. It is not followed by a high front projection point. This is down then began firing live. This is a live launch. Live to follow. Also noted that it is the track for a long time. About 200 seconds. 200 seconds. It is the white fog. Started doing a very strange action. That means to say, it is the control system has been broken. The reason that the control system is broken, according to their analysis, because too hot. You hypersonic speed in such circumstances under. Just have not seen a change in track. So a sudden now, then generates a phenomenon, the next test flight. For now, no. At least they have not announced. I did not see. Well, this is it in. Left wings of the plane. X-51 a hypersonic cruise. So hypersonic cruise. That's 5 times the speed of sound. Then it is called the Wave Rider. Is Wave Rider. Space attack is Wave Rider. An unmanned space attack. This is its propeller had taken off the. Then has been added to supersonic speed. And the use of supersonic screaming jet ignition. After ignition rush to hypersonic speed. They drew this picture down. Front air intake is, well, we have talked about this talk. The second paragraph of Chinese Temple. Stopped working in March 2016. Why stop working? It said that on March 30th, April 2nd, 2018, may fall. Might decay. The temple looks like. Temple 1 way of 2. It actually looks like this. Tiangong. Temple in mainland China. With an American school bus. Send students to class like bus. Much like the volume. This is according to the US this. Some monitoring system. Space Command is, then through the release of a scientist. Then notice, the left is its height. It is the bottom right time. You see it has been decade. Directly behind the red line down. Down time. One side is number 2018 of January 16th. No decade down. Then here are green. A final height. It is a gesture control to make adjustments. Posture control adjustment. The last time was in 2015, number 16 December. Express what to say. One temple it is a controlled return. Note that a controlled return. Fall where it's going down. Basically South Pacific. Space District's grave. This is reasonable. The first no one. The second is that place in the South Pacific. There is no interference. Well, this is the Temple 2. It Temple 2 temple to be bigger than you think. This temple. This is the Temple 2. So we look at this comparison. This is mainland China's manned space flight. We see the flight profile. 5 left from God. Its weight is 7,790 kilograms first. Is 7.7 tons. Then you see from God 76.5, 9 God until God 11. Substantially inseparable from 8T. To the Temple a little more than 8.5 tons. Temple 2 8.6 tons. Later on the space station is now. Future 2020 to 2030. Mainland China to develop space station can take 6 to 7 people, so is 25 tons. So why so concerned about the United States? We look good. Time launch your reference. Year 2003, Temple 2 until 2013. Year 2014, so we look at the inside. In which the number of turns around the Earth. 7 got around the space around the 46 laps. 3 people do a spacewalk for 22 minutes at the same time. Notice, this is a very critical time. The height of 330 to 336 kilometers. Notice, he not only strolled, and even made a small space in a satellite. Into the inside track. The inside has a very large key technologies. Is the number of sunspots that time is 0. Representatives are saying, God mainland China 7. 3 people executed on September 28, 2008. When performing a spacewalk on September 25th. No sunspots, very quiet. So no harm to people. You can predict the success of such technology. I think. The Soviet Union and then the United States also powerful buggeroosy, so I am particularly speaking out. God is a key. Point 7. Then we will see. Temple 2. Temple April 2018 number 2 controlled return. Fell on the South Pacific. Temple 2. 2019719. Also fell on the South Pacific, but this time the space station. This time the Long March 5th. Sorry, prelude to the space station. It does not fall within the off position. It is an unmanned test, 18 tons of heavy rocket to complete the task. Under the circumstances uncontrolled. A place to fall 20 tons. This is the Long March 5th rocket series. We can see this picture. We see this picture. The final track Long March 5th core segment. It noted that the rocket returned. That blue is its return to the United States. Weather Space-Based Foundation also caught its location. Little by little, little by little. First by the top US. Finally, over in New York. By over New York. 15. That circle the place. Is likely to fall in place. The tracks go down below. Is North Africa. North Africa go down below. If it does not fall, here it is to go down to Australia. The most dangerous case. Australia fell on land that is not possible. So it has now landed the top. This fall yellow circle position. And this position. With our so-called space cemetery. Space cemetery is located here. Not a place to see yellow spots. Low orbit space station and a large spacecraft. Finally, the deceleration controlled by the fuel. It falls on this location. But Temple 2. The Russian space station with Fresnel. Even including the future ISS space station Freedom will fall. The space station Freedom. Basic will fall here. Why is this time of the Long March 5th? Here it does not fall. So, some people suspect, is not technology or what? This is all speculation. Real me. If there is a future outbreaks, perhaps in terms of its own, it is human negligence not control it. So it does not fall within that place. Or does it simply cannot control? It is simply necessary to know its characteristics, as we all know, Elon Musk SpaceX. It fell the main rocket. It falls with a vertical position of point. He is not the future. This may also make similar experiments. We do not know. But I tell you that this technology is only, America can really grasp its place. Through what? Space Command Monitoring System. So I will tell you this example. It is now in mainland China to monitor every move. You can see that there is. The left is the United States. Europe and the United States, mainland China, Russia. Development of rocket system. Have you noticed the Long March? The number left over 1,234. The fourth is the Long March. Long March 9th saw no. Now only number 5 less than the Long March 9th. It is to March 9th. How much space on it to upload something? The year 1969 with the United States. The Saturn V moon landing is the same. 140 tons. Do you see it? Look below 140 tons flag. It is indicated that the United States Space Commands. Basically. It is in February. Released a very important can. Is to tell you. We now start to really. Ready to deal with what? Ready to deal. The re-emergence of long-term strategic competitor. Then the Space Command's mission. So why look for a 4-star general? Said his task. To really more important than ever. He will carry greater responsibility, while the inside of the enemy. In the end it is China or Russia. Or else we are talking about additional space in the enemy. We will wait and see. Thank you for watching this. See you later.